Hey, Forrest here. Nothing like getting paid. And with ICCU's mobile app, I can deposit checks or accept Zelle payments so the money hits my account fast. I just wish there was an app for mowing the rest of these lawns.
Right now, Lithia Ford of Boise is buying used vehicles. How much you want for the SUV?
I don't know.
Well, Lithia Ford will give you more than that.
How much more?
More than you think.
I'm not thinking anything.
I'm thinking you might get even more than that. See how much more you can get at Lithia Ford of Boise.
When it comes to concrete, we've got you covered. RowPaint.com offers custom concrete coating services for your garage, business, warehouse, and more. And we do it in one day. We are your complete concrete coatings solution.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Joining BJ Rains today is KTVB Sports Director Jay Tust. Check him out on Twitter at KTVB Sports Guy and make sure to check out KTVB.com. Today's broadcast is coming from the Cutwater Spirits Canned Cocktail Studios. Check out one of their more than 30 flavors of pre-mixed premium cocktails at your local gas station or grocery store. Now here's Jay Tust and BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing? Happy Tuesday, Bronco Nation. Hope you had a good Labor Day. We are happy to be with you as we continue to get you set for the UCF home opener on Saturday. My name is BJ Rains with Bronco Nation News. With me today on Tuesday, as always, Jay Tust, sports director at KTVB. Jay is with us Tuesdays and Fridays year-round, and he's our one host that makes two appearances, so we appreciate, Jay, your time, and looking forward to today. We're going to talk a little bit about UCF, about Washington, but I do think fans are ready to move on to UCF, but we'll take a little time today one more day to kind of digest what went wrong, what we think is correctable. But Jay, saw you up there in Seattle. I don't know where my camera went there. Can you hear me, though? You can still hear me. I don't know where my camera went.
I'm trying to hear you, yeah.
That's weird. Okay, well, we're going to fix this real quick. Not sure what's going on. Start the camera here. All right, I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that, Jay.
You're back.
I don't know what happened there. But Jay Tust is with us. Happy Tuesday, Jay, and how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Just got back from dropping the kid off at school. Running a little late. You probably know what that's like, but we're here and we're ready to roll.
We've figured out the bus issue a little bit. It's only been about 5 minutes late the last week or so, as opposed to 30 and 45 as it was the first couple of weeks. So,
okay.
Yeah, they are on the bus about 8:20 these days, and then it's time to get ready for the show. So, it actually works out nicely. By the way, Jay, I went to buy my Rock Stars today, and this is not a free plug for Rock Stars, but we were discussing our tangerine mango guava strawberry flavor in the press box in Seattle. They now have a new can.
Okay.
Interesting looking can here. Yeah, interesting design on the can with some I don't know, but it's still the same old flavor. So even the lady that was ringing me up was like, "Oh, it's a new flavor." I'm like, "No, it looks like it's just a different can." But
it threw you off for a second, or what?
It did. I think I need to. That should be if there was ever a trade deal to have. Maybe I can get Rockstar to trade me some energy drinks for free advertising. We'll have to figure something out. But Jay, we saw you up there in Seattle, obviously, and was fun for Boise State fans there in the first quarter, first part of the second quarter. Obviously went downhill quick. We talked to Andy Avalos, Spencer Danielson, Bush Hamden yesterday, and I guess we'll kind of start there. Let's start with Bush Hamden. We'll start with the offense, and I think that's the area where people had some questions, but I still think overall probably have a little better feeling about that group going in, moving forward than what we saw from the defense, giving up 56 points. So let's discuss the offense and then spend the bulk of the time on the defense. But Bush Hamden, he said, "Hey, I was a little over-aggressive maybe at times in the second quarter. Should have got us in a rhythm. Maybe should have ran the ball a little more." He said the right things. But where are you at on what, Bush yesterday and where this offense is at? I don't think 19 points is really what folks were expecting.
No, I think that the coaches kind of rolled into yesterday's press conference ready to wear that one. For better, for worse, right or wrong.
The assistant coaches, I would say.
Yeah, they came in there and they said that this was on them, and you could tell that was kind of their theme going into this thing, which I get. I mean, at the end of the day, they take responsibility for the performance of the players, and I guess that's the way that it goes. But man, I go back and I watch the game, BJ, and I got to say, I got less of a problem with what they were trying to do on offense than I kind of initially thought watching the game live. Yeah, probably could they have ran the ball a little bit more? Sure. It's really tough to talk about injuries, but Bush Hamden during his press conference did say that, the health of George Holani kind of impacted things there for a little bit, and he eventually came back, but there was a window there. And coincidentally, it was kind of when things started to get off for the Broncos, that, he said that he was being a little too over aggressive. And so I get that, but I really do think, man, you look back at that game and it comes down to execution in a few key areas. Boise State starts the game on a 3-and-out with Michael Penix Jr. And I don't know if anybody would have predicted that, in all honesty. And so Boise State gets the ball and they get themselves in a nice little 3rd and short. They should have been able to convert a first down. Receiver drops the ball. They punt back to the University of Washington. So then UW's second drive, another 3-and-out. What is going on here?
Yeah.
At that point. And so then Boise State's actually able to capitalize with a touchdown. Third drive. I mean, it's a very similar thing where a drop or a slip leads to, instead of a first down, Boise State's punting again. And so there were just some opportunities in there, man, that it just could have been a very, very different halftime feel. And I'll go to the 4th drive. I believe it was 4th drive, maybe the 5th. They're facing a 3rd and short. They pick up a first down on a play to Riley Smith. And George Holani gets called for 2 years ago, a penalty that wouldn't have been a penalty. But
it is now. It was clearly a penalty now.
Yeah, it was. Yep, absolutely.
And it was on the other side of the field. It wasn't even really necessary. It was just kind of like, what were you doing, George? But that was a killer. Yeah, that was a first down that Riley would have moved. It was an effort play. It was, it wasn't the right thing to do, but it was an effort play. It's not like he was doing something just that was completely dumb. Sure.
But, it's just you're looking back, man. And I look back at that first half. If they execute a little bit better in a couple of key opportunities, it's a very different feel. And I would rather my play caller at the end of the day, almost apologize for being too over aggressive than the other way around, because the other way around probably doesn't even give you a chance against a school like the University of Washington. So if they go out and they execute just a little bit better, a little bit would have gone a long way in that game. I'm not saying that it would have made a difference, who ultimately won that thing.
Yeah.
But a little would have gone a long way early on. And maybe if you can push that thing into the, mid-3rd quarter where you're
make Washington sweat a little more.
Yeah. Maybe it just makes them think about the way they're doing things a little bit differently. So I don't know. I go back and I look at it, and it's probably not a very popular take, but I really don't have too much of a problem with the way that Bush called that game, considering all that was going on and considering there just straight up was a little bit of a lack of execution. I'll boldly predict, and I mean, maybe it's just a hope. You're not going to see the receivers drop 6 balls in a game for the rest of the season.
Well, that's what I kept saying. And was that the final number 6? I mean,
I it was 6. I could be wrong, but I think it was 6.
I kind of said that on the post-game show, and I said it on Twitter too. I mean, it's the same guys for the most part as last year, and they didn't have a problem with drops last year. So I kind of chalk it up as just first-game jitters. I don't know what was going on, but and yeah, it always sounds like, we're saying, not excuse-making, but saying, they would have won the game. I don't know if they would have won the game, but certainly would have been in the game more. That third down drop by Cobbs, I thought, was a big one. Now, he did come back, and as his parents are letting folks know on social media, I mean, he did come back with the nice big catch there later in the game.
Yep.
But I mean, facts are facts. Had the third down drop, which would have moved the chains. He was wide open there. There was at least 1 or 2 to Billy Bowens. I know of one that was a third down play, I believe, to Billy Bowens. It was like a 3rd and 10 or something, and it was like 12 yards, would have moved the sticks over by the sidelines. There was a couple plays that definitely would have moved the chains. And again, you're not saying you would have scored there, but you would have at least been able to get into a rhythm offensively. A couple of those 3, I think 3 or 4 3-and-outs in a row there in the second quarter. It just takes one first down sometimes to get that moving, and they just couldn't get that done. And part of that was I think they probably should have ran the ball a little more, as everybody is saying. It's not the obvious thing to say. It was funny, Jay. We spent all offseason saying, don't want to run Taylon Green too much and protect his legs and do this. But it's sometimes I think you just need to let him go. And I think that was a game where I know they said there was 10 reads, but I think some more QB designed runs earlier in that game may have helped. And I think you're going to see a whole different game plan against UCF. It wouldn't surprise me to see it be 3 or 4-1 run versus pass.
Yeah. I don't know if I can predict that or not, BJ. I think that going into the UW game, that I feel like that's how they thought that they could hang with UW and beat UW. And so given that, yeah, you might be right. Like maybe they're looking at UCF and they're more susceptible against the run, which UW pretty stout against the run. At least last year too.
Because Bush did say, sorry to cut you off, but Bush did say that maybe it got in his own head. He was watching the games they lost, and he watched the Texas game, and he saw teams that beat them had more, did more through the air, and that's why he thought in the back of his mind maybe he thought too much about passing the ball going into this game.
I just like how they were kind of doing some screens and a ton of misdirection, and I just feel like you look at the fact they still average almost 5 yards a carry. I feel like what they were trying to do and get guys moving and second guessing maybe and things like that on that Washington defense, I feel like it actually was working.
Yeah.
Again, it just goes back to a little bit of a lack of execution, and especially like some third down throws. And, there was a play later in the drive where Riley Smith kind of slipped coming out of a break, and, they're in 2nd and 5. I think that was the play following the Ashton Genty screen down the left sideline for 48 yards. And, then they get up there and they could have hit Riley for a nice little 2nd and 5 setup. Instead, they're in 2nd and 10. They run the ball. I don't think they really gain much. And now they're in 3rd and long, and they end up settling for a field goal. But it's just, man, there was just a number of little things like that where you're like, gosh, if it was their own execution, not necessarily what UW was doing to them on offense, at least, and that they could have had some more success. And if they stay on the field, that it would have been a world of difference in not, just keeping the ball out of Penix's hands. I look at one of the biggest game-changing points in the game, and we talked about this yesterday in the press conference. It goes back to that play on 3rd and short. Taylon hits Riley for a first down. Instead, George gets called for a penalty, and now they're in 3rd and 16 versus 1st and 10. They would have been 1st and 10 with the clock ticking down under 6 minutes to go before halftime.
Yeah.
And in a 14-9 game in favor of UW. That instead they end up punting, and 3 minutes and 39 seconds later on the game clock, it is 28-9 in favor of the University of Washington. And
it happened pretty quick.
That was a really big. I think that was the opportunity when we go back to Bush now. I think that was the opportunity where all of a sudden you would have seen them kind of slow it down and try to run the ball and milk the clock a little bit after they got that first down and try to take it to halftime in a 1-score game. And it just didn't. There was that one mistake, and it just didn't go that way. We knew this. We talked about this probably ad nauseum last week. Certainly on your pregame or on your preseason special, it was. Boise State needed to go in there and play their A game to have a chance. And instead, in all honesty, when it came down to execution, you probably look at it, they went in there and played a C- game.
I'd say that.
I think when you consider all that they could have done and left out on the field early on, it looked like they were trying to put their A effort together. But from really like the 10-minute mark of the second quarter on, it wasn't there. And so had they been able to sustain what they did over the first, 15, 20 minutes of the game for an entire game, that's the team that would have had a chance. Instead, it was Washington, the 10th ranked team in the country at home, that probably played about an A- game. And the scoreboard speaks for itself.
Well, you come down and you miss the field goal, it gets tipped or whatever if it did, and then you get the penalty. So you get the field goal, you're up 9-7, and then you get another stop, and you have the ball back up 9-7 on Washington. If you could have scored there, got some points, got some momentum, I really think that was a key factor in the game as well. You're up 9-7 with the ball, and I think they go 3 and out, and then that's when it really started to turn around for Washington. I think it was the next drive was the Helani Riley Smith play, I think. But either way, they had a lot of chances. I thought the extra point, missing that, was a buzzkill. You're up 6-0. When that happens, all of a sudden, when Washington comes down and scores, you're all of a sudden losing, even though you've played as good, if not better than them for the first quarter of the game. I know they followed it up with a field goal right away, but after that, and I know it's not, 100% related, and correlated, but after the missed extra point, you got outscored 28-3 to finish the half. And so I just thought that was a little deflating when that happened. We do have a lot of comments and things we want to get to, but I first do need to thank a couple of our sponsors here, Jay. We'll hit up the ICCU YouTube chat in just a second. The Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. Free shipping, any order over $40. If you're in the Boise area, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there on the second floor. All the newest Nike gear, coaches sideline gear, all that great stuff. The blueandorangestore.com. And again, you're supposed to wear blue. It's a blue out on Saturday. If you're looking for a new job, Transportation Compliance Service, TCS, transcompservice.com, the best. And if you're looking for a job, check them out because they can help you with the permits and things you need to get into the trucking industry. It's a national company based here in Meridian, so check them out, transcompservice.com. Our friends over at Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. They got locations across the Treasure Valley in the state of Idaho, 13 in the state of Idaho to be exact. Check them out, Ridley's Family Markets. Download their new app to get savings up to 40% on your smartphone. I'm working with United Commercial Insurance right now. We got a business audit for our workers' comp insurance, and we're given the required paperwork and things that they need. So it's been very easy to work with. Awesome process. Brandon and his staff do a tremendous job. UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. They can write business policy insurance in 44 states around the country. So check them out if you need business insurance, UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. Our dentist, Dr. Miner, Boise Dentistry Co. Check him out as well if you need a dentist. Full family dentistry. Our family is so happy we made the switch. 5 locations across the Treasure Valley. Find one near you. Again, BoiseDentistryCo.com. And our friend Matt Boucher Real Estate. Number 1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Boucher. Check him out, BoucherRealEstate.com. And he can write, no home is too big or too small. So he'll help you out, part of the Amherst Madison Real Estate Advisors. Check him out, BoucherRealEstate.com. I do want to throw a plug in for our pregame show on Saturday. We'll be at the James. We'll be hanging out starting around noon. They open at 11. You can come hang out at noon. We got some swag we'll be giving away, hanging out. We'll be live at about 2:30 on Saturday. And how about this, Jay Tust? Our friends at Stein Distributing are allowing us to give away. They have donated a gift certificate, $180 value for a free keg for one of your next tailgate parties. So if you want a keg, which my understanding is on the quick math, Jay, it's 126 16-ounce pours in a keg. So if you are tailgating over at Albertson Stadium or have a tailgate with your friends at your house, just a party for a road game, whatever you want to use it for, we have a gift certificate, $180 value for a free keg, the tap, the cups, everything you'll need. I think it even comes with a couple bags of ice. It's literally everything you would need. You stop by and say hello to us from the James Kitchen and Bar on Saturday, and we'll get you registered, and we'll draw that on the post-game show after the game. So you got to stop by the James pregame, get registered to win the free keg from our friends at Stein Distributing and Cutwater Spirits, and we appreciate their support for helping out the Bronco Nation News. We hope to see you on Saturday, pregame and postgame. Jordan will be there pregame, Kent Riddle postgame. Going to have a lot of fun this season again at the James Kitchen and Bar, and it's a perfect spot if you're looking to watch some football this year. And I know they were popping on Saturday for the Washington game, so weather's cooling down, Jay. This is the perfect time to sit out on the patio and watch some football, and we'll see you on Saturday at the James. Okay, let's get to some of the comments here. There's been a lot of good comments. I'm trying to find the one I wanted to start with. Lisa Kirk Gardner, always a good viewer. We appreciate you for watching, Lisa. See her in the airport a decent amount on road trips. The amount of slips and falls was surprising. Did they do a cleat switch out at halftime? This has become a decent-sized story, and we all noticed it during the game. I asked Andy about it post-game and then followed up with it because it was even worse after I watched the broadcast. Even like linemen were slipping when they're polling and stuff. I mean, it was bad. We checked with Boise State. They checked with Nike. It turns out that the cleats are exactly the same as other schools are using this year. The two big differences are obviously from Saturday because Washington was not slipping, Jay. They use AstroTurf. Boise State uses Field Turf. It's a different company that makes the turf. And then they use Adidas cleats, Washington that is, and Boise State uses Nike. For whatever reason, the combo of Nike and AstroTurf didn't go great, I guess, for Boise State on Saturday. We'll see if it's better. They do have 2 more games, Jay, this season on AstroTurf at Memphis and at San Diego State. Those are both going to be, I believe, on the same surface they just played against at Washington. So at Memphis and at San Diego State could potentially be some issues if that's not fixed. But what was your take on that? Because, again, not making excuses, probably would have lost the game still, but you saw defensive backs slipping and leaving guys wide open. Wide receivers were slipping, coming out of breaks and dropping passes them when they were open because they're falling down as they're trying to catch it. It was just odd to see as many guys slipping for a beautifully perfect sunny day on turf as you saw happening there on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I already pointed out one of them. There was a play, a key play in the game after Ashton Genty picks up 48 yards and Boise State is back in business on offense, ready to get back into the game. And Riley Smith just running like a little 5-yard out, like slips coming out of his break. And it was enough to throw off the timing of the play, and he couldn't turn around in time to catch the ball. And again, now all of a sudden they're in 2nd and long, which resulted in 3rd and long. And then, that drive doesn't necessarily result in the amount of points that they had hoped going into it, especially after a big chunk 48-yard play, really set up that drive nicely. There was a play in the first quarter that or second quarter, I guess. But, Amarion McCoy, he's on a receiver and his feet go out from under him. And the guy ends up being wide open and takes it down to like the 5-yard line at that point in time. And it's just I guess it sounds like excuse making, but damn, man, there were some big moments in the game. Like not only were Boise State players slipping, but some stuff happened as a result of those slips. And, there were a couple of them too. You bring up the offensive lineman. I think it was, Roger Carrion where he pulled around.
There was one. Yep.
It almost looked like he got hurt. Like the way that his knees gave out, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I just going back and watching that on the broadcast, I was like, we go from giving up big plays to maybe giving up injuries. So that was noticeable. Like you mentioned the 2 more games to come on AstroTurf, and whatever the combination is, I don't know, but that will absolutely have to be addressed one way or another before they attempt to do that again.
And they claim that there's no, I asked Andy yesterday in the presser, but could you change the cleats out, or do they usually bring, 2 pairs of cleats? But he said the new cleats that Nike makes, it's just 1 pair, and it's not the old, ones that you can screw on and off. It's just, these are our cleats, whether they're high top, whether they're low top, the actual thickness of the spikes or whatever are the same. And I assume people know this, but they're rubber spikes. You're not getting metal spikes out there in college, I don't believe. So it is what it is. It's your standard cleats you go buy at Dick's Sporting Goods, and they have some linemen versus receivers wear different height on the side, but the actual cleats on the bottom of the shoe are the same. It sounds like, and so it wasn't a scenario where they could just go in at halftime and switch out the cleats. That's not what you do anymore. Well, no teams do that. But I don't know, man. It was weird.
I do believe the weird thing about it is I do believe that the mold on the bottom of an offensive lineman. Correct me if I'm wrong here, BJ. It probably is a little bit different than even like a defensive back or a wide receiver.
Maybe it's a little thicker or longer. Yeah.
Yeah, but either way, they both had problems with it. Right.
Yeah.
And I will say, I was on the sidelines there for the first quarter, and that was before shooting the game. I'm looking at it through this for the most part. Right. And so there are things that I don't necessarily get to see while the game is going on. But I remember an equipment guy running out with a handful of cleats, and I was like, what's that about? And then for the second quarter, I got the chance to not shoot. So I got a wider, perspective of the game, and I realized guys were slipping.
Yeah.
And so, I do think in some cases there was a little bit of an effort to be made to switch stuff out, but I don't think that you.
I think they were trying, but there wasn't a whole lot they could do.
Yeah,
and
you can't change the cleats of 105 different guys in a road game.
Again, not to say they would have won the game, but when you start trying to put these small things together that could make a difference in a game like UCF, if there's no slipping, if there's no drops, those things, you never know what 1 third down play could do to keep a drive going and change a game. So, if you're looking for optimism, if you're a Boise State fan, there's reasons to think that they were actually a lot closer, offensively at least, than they were. I do want to talk defense. I want to thank a couple more sponsors real quick. Ball Ventures, Alquist, Tommy Alquist and Company, the Eagle View Landing. They got Top Golf there. We're going to be telling you more about them moving forward, but appreciate Tommy Alquist and his staff stepping up to help BNN here. When I met with Tommy and told him we were looking to hire Mike Prater, before I could even finish my spiel, he said, done deal. What can we do? So if you're loving reading Mike Prater, and you can thank in part Ball Ventures Alquist for helping make it happen. Jordan K's hire as well was because of BVA, and they're one of our main sponsors that stepped up. So we'll be telling you more about Topgolf. Actually looking to do some broadcasts at Topgolf moving forward. May get Jay out there on the simulator for the long drive here and see what we can do. I think that'd be our highest viewership yet if we could get a live show and get Jay out there teeing one up. You don't care about, at Topgolf, Jay, you don't have to hit it straight. You can just let it fly. So that might be
those nets are pretty high on the side, so I'm not going to be able to maybe slice or hook it off.
We'll let the authorities know. We'll let the State Highway Patrol know to block traffic for a little while Jay's out there hitting. But appreciate BVA. We'll be telling you more about them in Topgolf moving forward. BVA Ball Ventures Alquist. The other sponsor that helped us make our recent hire is Taco Bell. We appreciate them. TacoBellWorks.com. They've committed over $300,000 to the men's and women's basketball programs for student scholarships over the next 5 years. SON Management, the Nicolason family, own and operate 19 freestanding Taco Bell locations from Burley to Ontario and everywhere in between. We appreciate Taco Bell's support for stepping up and helping us out here. You can get more information, TacoBellWorks.com. And again, they're doing a lot for the Boise State community, and we appreciate their support of Bronco Nation News. I mentioned Lithia Ford of Boise, the fall kickoff sale. Bronco Nation News will be there on Friday. Lithia Ford of Boise is giving away 4 tickets to the UCF game, the 50-yard line. That's right. If you want to go to the UCF game, Jim Sturk, Lithia Ford of Boise, they're giving away 4 tickets at the 50-yard line. Come out on Saturday. We're looking to finalize the time because Andy Avalos is talking at 9:30, so it's going to be probably 10:30 or 11. But we'll come on out and you can get registered. And Lithia Ford of Boise is giving away tickets on Friday for the game on Saturday against UCF. So we appreciate Jim Sturk and company there at Lithia Ford of Boise. And of course, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. Their mobile e-branch online banking, so easy to use. Whenever you need to move money around or pay a bill, write a check, it's just so easy online at Idaho Central Credit Union. So you may be happy with your bank. You'll be even happier if you make the switch to ICCU. We have our vehicle loan through them. We've had multiple vehicle loans through them, and just paying it off is so easy, and transferring money and Bronco Nation News, personal accounts are all through ICCU. So make the switch today. You'll never be happier. ICCU.com. All right, Jay, in the last 5 minutes or so that we got here, we got some more comments coming in here. Let's see. Absolutely agree, guys. Disappointed in a few of our fans who call out for the firings. Let's support the kids and the staff. First game, folks. Washington is tough. Broncos are going to be fine. Just need a few adjustments after this game or not. Let's see. Sanford said it last night. The fans are spoiled. Need to move on from the Kellen years. Hope we see a good crowd on Saturday. Let's see. Where are we at here? Boise State needs to come in ready. 3.5 point underdogs at home. That is pretty rare, but I was actually surprised it wasn't more, to be honest. Let's go defensively, though. I mean, Robbie Robinson says that was also an incredible performance by Penix Jr., and it was. But what do you make of what we saw defensively? A lot of open receivers running down the middle of the field. Couple of the throws, nothing you can do about it, but there were a lot of wide open guys, even on some of the shorter plays to get first downs and things. Again, attribute it to what you want. I know they're really good. I know it was first game for a lot of these guys, but and again, it's not, Alexander Tubner got crushed a lot on social media. I didn't think he had a particularly great game, but also when you see him chasing the guy down the sidelines, or down the middle of the field, it's not always just his fault. Mm-hmm. There's other guys involved. Other than that first sack, there wasn't much of a pass rush on Penix. I don't really think you can pick to a lot of players and say they played great. I mean, I'm not sure I heard, when I rewatched the tape, Jay, I'm not sure I heard Dimitri Washington or Ahmed Hassanin's name mentioned. And so there are a lot of guys. It was a collective team effort. Spencer Danielson can take the blame all he wants, but it was not just Spencer Danielson's fault here. What do you make big picture wise on the defense with what we saw at Washington, and I guess big picture concerns or lack thereof moving forward here?
I don't know if Boise State will face a wide receiver as good as any of the three that UW put on the field on Saturday. I don't know if they'll face another one, this season, as good as those guys were. They won't face the quarterback as good as Michael Penix Jr. The guy coming in here this weekend is unbelievably versatile and dangerous too, but you look at some of the throw Penix made. There was like one towards the sideline where he fitted in between the cornerback and the safety and had this beautiful touch on it where it was almost like he threw it 20 yards and then he somehow put a spin on the ball where it just died and fell into the receiver's arms. I mean, his ability is insanely good. He's not a Heisman dark horse. He is a Heisman contender. He is going to have an unbelievably big season. It's always gone back to him with his health, but last year he stayed healthy. And so if he stays healthy, he's going to be a Heisman contender without a doubt, in my opinion. That being said, you watch the game and like you watch it live and it seems like there's a lot going wrong. And I think that you go back and you watch the game when you get home and you have a moment to breathe and kind of look at things with through a different scope. I will say, like, some of the physicality that you saw the team play with, especially for the first quarter and a half or quarter and a quarter or so, that was impressive to me. I know that Spencer Danielson wanted to take away a lot of the easy access throws. They like to throw screens to their wide receivers and things like that. And we saw on a number of occasions, whether it be Shea Oladipo or Jalen Clark or Katanoe Kaniho, those guys all came up and played pretty physical and blew up a number of those plays. I mean, for the University of Washington to throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage 7 times, complete all 7 of them, but only gain 7 yards, that's a job well done, at least in that area. They've got to clean up the explosive plays, though. I mean, we've talked about it. We'll continue to talk about it until they prove they don't do it. 16 plays of 15 or more yards is a number that is just way too gaudy. Like, I jokingly said this on KTVB, BJ, but there are offenses that would take that 16 plays of 15 or more yards through the air over an entire month, probably, let alone just what was largely 2.5 quarters for UW on Saturday. So they have to find a way to clean that up, whether it's playing with better eyes, whether it's communicating better, whether it's just being better as a team, as an individual. I think the thing that I walk away with, BJ, that, it might sound harsh, but it's just kind of the reality of it, and it is what it is. And this goes against what apparently Sanford said yesterday, and kind of getting over the Kellen Moore era, because that was 50-3 isn't 50-3 is not the standard. I'm sorry, it's just not. Like, that's just an insane 4 years. But it's just usually after those early games where Boise State would go and they'd knock off a Georgia, or they would compete against somebody early in the season, it would be those coaches hosting press conferences like Boise State hosted yesterday. This one's on me. We need to clean this up. Eye control was bad. It was the opposing coaches having those types of press conferences. And so now it's Boise State having those. So we saw it last year after Oregon State. So how can they put themselves in a position where the shoe is on the other foot, following the first game of the season? It's, like I said, maybe that sounds harsh, but I think it's also the reality of it.
Well, I do want to, before we get out of here, mention one comment here. Devo Bronx says Jeremiah Dickey didn't seem too fond of BJ's comments on the ticket sales on Twitter. What I will say about this is the game should have been sold out before this week even started. There's no reason this game should not be sold out, and it probably still will eventually come close. But if you do go look online in the upper deck, there's a lot of available seats, and I don't know the reason for that, but I do know that if you go look, the cheapest ticket is $75. And if you're a family of 4, that's $300 for the cheapest ticket to go. And I paid over $100 per ticket.
That's just to get in.
Yes. And I paid myself, so I can talk about ticket prices. I paid over $400 to buy tickets for my wife and her cousin and the boys to go on Saturday. So they'll be there. But I bought them about 3 weeks ago for like $440. And those are way up in the upper deck at like the 30-yard line. We're not talking, in the box or something. So
Nelly better enjoy this freaking game.
Oh, he ain't leaving early and he ain't touching his iPad. I can tell you that. Yeah. So this game should have been sold out. I'm not making excuses for fans. I think it'll get close. Obviously, losing 56-19 isn't going to help this week, but I saw after the game, somebody asked about ticket sales and Jeremiah Dickey tweeted back, like, going to need a big week or something. And right away I was like, what do you mean going to need a big week? Like, this game should already be sold out or close to it. It doesn't look like that's the case. And when people go online and say, oh, there's not a ton, look at the upper deck a lot, it's only every other row. Well, I figured this out for basketball. When every other row is like wide open, that means they haven't even put the rows that are blocked out for sale yet, because they'd rather the whole stadium look kind of full than like 20 open rows at the top. So at least for what I can see on the map, there's some seats that haven't even been, they're not even trying to sell yet because they're trying to sell the other ones first. I am not making excuses for fans. I think anybody would say that I'm more critical of fans not buying tickets than anyone. I think this is a town of almost 1 million people. You have 6 home games a year. There is no reason why you can't get 36,000 people that want to go to these games. I don't understand it. And you know, there were many plans. There are blue collar passes. There were other ways to make it more affordable, I guess, moving forward. But if
they still have that. I mean, they had that offer, BJ, where if you buy it, was $125 to go to the season opener and they win, and I mean,
yep. And they only held that open for a couple days for some reason. It's gone, and they sold 160 of those tickets. I actually would have bought that if they had still had it going, but for some reason they only made that available for about a week or something. I don't know all the details. So I just want to make sure I say before we get out of here, like, it's all like the game should be sold out. It's embarrassing that if it's not. It's a huge game. It's one of the biggest games in a long, long time. But if somebody says that, like right now, they go online to look at tickets, and the reason they can't go is because it's going to cost I'm not going to disagree that the ticket prices, and I know Jeremiah Dickey said it's the same for the Oklahoma State and the BYU, and I get that, but that doesn't change. And both those were sellouts. Like, that's great. But again, as someone that looked to buy tickets and bought tickets for my family, $400 is a large chunk of change for two, $100 a ticket for a 6 and 8 year old that they may not even love the game. So I get the ticket prices. I get that they did things earlier in the summer to try to make it a little more affordable, and the game should have been sold out before this week. Yes, I agree with that. It's embarrassing that it's not. But I do, and I do think right now, if someone goes online to look at the tickets, it's a little pricey for a single game ticket when the cheapest ticket in the South End Zone area is $75 that I can see. Maybe there's some cheaper ones that I'm missing. So they got some work to do. We may get the official ticket update today. But yeah, I mean, this game has been so highly anticipated for such a long time. When I went on there like Sunday after I saw Jeremiah's comment and just looked at the upper deck, I was a little surprised to see. And again, someone's saying that you can go on Vivid Seats and get tickets for $36. Well, that's great, but that's a seat that's already been purchased. That's not a new ticket as they're trying to sell out the stadium. So that doesn't really, that's not the point I'm talking about. Yeah, if you want to get into the game, you can for cheaper, I guess now. Maybe I should have waited, but from the tickets that Boise State is trying to sell, $100 for the 30-yard line way up in the top of the upper deck is not cheap. So I totally get that argument from fans.
Yeah. Unfortunately, everybody that's hearing this, BJ, are probably the ones that would buy or have bought or could buy or whatever. I mean, so and those are the fans that whenever this topics like this come up are probably the ones that maybe do get a little offended, and I get it because they feel like they are doing their part. So it's the ones that go beyond the intensity of Bronco Nation, I guess, that you would love to see probably jump on the boat and get in Albertson Stadium and on Saturday and support the team. You're right, man. That's a pretty penny. I'm not going to lie. If I was just a casual human in the city of Boise, my family would have a very difficult time considering spending that much money going to the game. I especially when you consider the age of my children. They're young. They're 3 and 2 months. So yeah. I would have a very difficult time, committing to that. But I'll also say this, this is a meaningful game for Boise State for a lot of reasons. And I put together, kind of a preseason special called The Blueprint. And on that show, there were a couple of alumni talking about this specific game. I mean, they freely brought it up. It's what they wanted to talk about. It was Austin Dixon, Nick Crabtree, and Dante Harrington. Austin Dixon was particularly passionate about it because, it kind of came up like for a while there. UCF claimed like they were the next Boise State, and everybody said UCF is the next Boise State, right? Yeah. And now Boise State's trying to be the next UCF, and I know that phrase is going to rile up probably a lot of people, but UCF has found a way to leave the Group of Five and get into the Power Five. They are now a member of the Big 12. And that is exactly where Boise State, whether they would admit it or not, wishes that they could be, without a doubt. And this is a game where you have a team that has traveled that path that you want to travel. And no winning this game or losing this game probably doesn't decide anything for the future. But it will make people pause for at least a weekend and speculate and talk about it. And that's exactly the type of conversation that Boise State needs to drive right now. And that goes beyond a win and a loss on the field, though, BJ. You look at a school like Nebraska, man, they've sucked at football forever, and yet they still sell out like every single freaking game.
Yep.
So I know that they've lost a couple times on the blue more than you would like in the last few years. But at the end of the day, you bring this up with Leon Rice's home basketball record, you still have about an 80% chance of seeing a Boise State victory if you go to the game. And, when you want to be a Power 5 program, it's not just wins and losses. Boise State that was the demise, I think, of their progress moving forward during the Kellen Moore eras, is they only pointed to wins and losses as to why you would give a, care boo about this program. And they needed to push beyond that. And in the current administration, you certainly feel like is, but to be a Power 5 program, it's got to be so much more than wins and losses. It has to be facilities. It has to be donor support. It has to be packing a stadium and having an intense fan base. And it all plays into it. And again, back to my initial point, unfortunately, a lot of the people that are probably listening to this right now fall into the category of support. And when you question support, they're the group that's going to get offended. They shouldn't be. They're the ones that are pulling the rope, doing their job, carrying their weight. And it's got to reach further than them, though. And that's the challenge, especially in an area that's growing as much as Boise.
And I actually don't blame Boise State for raising the ticket prices for this game. The rest of the home schedule is not great. They got to make as much money as they can and capitalize. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they overshot it a little bit or what. They said it was the same price as before. And somebody said that the you win, we win is still available. I don't think that's the case. I tried to buy that, a couple weeks ago, and it was over. It was only, my understanding was it only went for like a week. So if that's still going, that's great. Take advantage of that. I did just go to the Boise State ticket and click on single game tickets, Jay, and it says I'm in line and there's 462 people in front of me. So maybe in the last 10 minutes, us firing them up have gotten people to jump on and try to buy tickets. I don't know. But either way, it's going to be allowed. It's going to be a fun atmosphere, but I just wanted to mention that. I know it made us go long, but I wasn't taking shots at Jeremiah Dickey or the athletic department. I will not hear the argument that I will listen if somebody wants to say they're not going to this game because it's too expensive. Yeah. Now, should there be enough people that can afford it, that can still pay, that can still fill a 36,000 seat stadium? Yes, I agree. There should be. Like I said, this game should have been sold out weeks ago. This shouldn't even be a discussion right now. It is pretty sad that it's not.
This is a massive brand game for Boise State.
Yes,
I feel like it is a big time brand game that everybody needs to be on their A game.
Yeah.
To show college football how strong the
we bought our tickets 3 weeks ago, like I said, or a month ago, because I figured, I can't wait too much closer, it's going to sell out. And so it is what it is. We'll see if the ticket prices, if the update comes on where they're at for ticket sales. But just based on the map online on Sunday, it didn't look like it had a chance of being a sellout at least in the next day or two. Yeah. But
I was surprised, BJ, because on the pregame show last week prior to the Washington game, you have your kind of canned questions that you're going to ask. And I thought Jeremiah was going to hype up the new scoreboard and all this stuff. And he did. But, the first thing he brought up I don't know if he said it exactly the way that you said he said it on our show, but he said something along the lines of they need to have a big week in ticket sales. And it's like, wait, what? I kind of had that same reaction you did when you saw that, dude. So
yeah. And I mean, again, the Washington game shouldn't, like the 56-19, shouldn't be the reason people aren't going. They were 2 touchdown underdogs. They weren't supposed to win anyway. So you should have had the tickets, or been the excitement of this game should have been done before this game even happened. So we'll see what happens this week. I hate that this is a storyline, because this game should be sold out and people just say, oh, he's the guy ripping on fans for not going. Well, then it looks like, but I'm actually sympathizing with fans that want to make the argument that ticket prices do seem a little high for this game. But as Jeremiah pointed out, there were other ways. We win, you win. There was the mini plans and some other stuff where you could also find the more affordable tickets. So if you want to go, I guess you can purchase them for as cheap as $30 in some of the secondary markets. Check that out, I guess, if you're wanting to go and can't afford the prices. But we'll see. You'd still think they could get a big walk-up this week and get close to a sellout. And obviously the team, if there was ever a game, Jay, that they needed a packed house to help, that the mystique of the blue to return and kind of will them to a win somehow, it would be this Saturday. So
yeah, I'm looking at this, BJ. 5 o'clock on Saturday is supposed to be upper 80s, mid to upper 80s. 5 o'clock kickoff on the Blue, early September. This will probably be one of the more comfortable games you could possibly witness.
Yeah,
at Albertson Stadium this season.
Well, we'll see what happens later in the week. We're going to start turning our attention towards UCF, and obviously we'll get into more of a game breakdown of what needs to happen for Boise State during our interview on Friday, Jay. So appreciate you as always. Yeah. Tell Camille, sorry we went a little bit over here on the time on your day off, but appreciate it, Jay, and we'll be in touch, and hope everybody has a great rest of their Tuesday. Interviews today. We got a lot of players on the list today. They'll be talking at about noon. We'll get those up on KTVB and Bronco Nation News, obviously. So appreciate it, Jay. We'll talk soon, man.
All right, buddy.
Jay Tust, KTVB sports director. He went 14 minutes over his time today, so I've got to add, I guess that's almost 50% to the next check, I guess. Dang. Appreciate it, Jay. We'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live, Bronco Nation News.